5 of One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. The other 4 parts will be posted on my playlist, under my live playlist. So I'm going to jump right into it. We are on chapter 58, and it's 70 chapters. I don't know if we're going to finish today, but I'm going to read for an hour, so whatever we get through. So just to give you a little bit of background, we have Jenny. She's the owner of Glow, which is the hair salon which all the elite women of Buckhead come to meet. So Jenny and Keisha, they're friends. They work at the salon. They have Mary, the assistant. And then we have Olivia. She's married to Dean. We have Bryce was married to Shannon. He divorced Shannon and got married to Crystal, who's younger. And then we have Mark, who's married to Karen. Karen and Mark share a 5-year-old named Riley. We suspected to believe that Mark is having an affair with Olivia. And we also know that Karen just started recently messing around with Keisha from the shop. So, the last thing that we kind of read to sum it up, Jenny was assaulted at Glow when there was a break-in, and she just kept working, kept hosting events, and just being right in the midst of, yeah, I said that I wasn't doing live on TikTok. I'm not posting videos except for the videos that are required. I'm not doing anything over there. I said it like every day that I went live in December. So Olivia decides to take Jenny and the girls out for a night out. She gets a limo. She's like telling everybody to take shots and stuff. And then she also pretended to be somebody to go out with Shannon. So she basically catfished Shannon. Shannon found out about it, but she didn't say nothing. As she's leaving, she goes to pay the tab and her card isn't working. So as she gets home, she's having this issue with her husband because we don't know what Dean does for a living, but he makes money. And Olivia has a pretty expensive lifestyle. So she goes home and he finds out that there were some things going on. She's really trying to find out what he does for work now. All of the husbands have convinced the wives to sign a new life insurance policy, like they want to up their life insurance policy. And this all takes place right before one of them is unalive. We still don't know who's unalive. We 58 chapters in, and I'm just ready to be done. It took us a while to get through this book. I mean, it was just a really slow start. So we're gonna start with chapter 58. Each chapter is told in a different point of view. Hey, Manny. We have Jenny, Karen, Sharon, Olivia, and Crystal. Chapter 58, Jenny. The bar was less crowded as people were filtering out. There were only 2 girls on the dance floor. Where did Olivia go? I asked, realizing she had been gone for at least 10 minutes. I glanced around, but she was nowhere in sight. Maybe she's out in the limo, waiting for us, Crystal said. Or maybe she's in the bathroom, Karen offered. Yeah, maybe I gotta go to the bathroom, so I'll check. You guys go to the limo, and I'll meet you there. They nodded, finishing up their drinks, and began gathering their belongings. I made my way to the bathroom and found myself alone in there. I walked to the sink and checked myself out in the mirror, ensuring my hair and makeup were still in place. I pulled my phone out of my purse and texted the number from Sean, the man I met earlier. It was nice meeting you tonight, smiley face. I sent the message, put the phone back in my purse, and smiling, knowing that I'm finally ready to become more than Glow. Perhaps this night did some good, and Olivia's idea wasn't so bad after all. I was still unsure of her intentions. Olivia just didn't do things out of the kindness of her heart. Hey, Cammy. I walked out of the bathroom and bumped into our server. Before I could ask if she had seen Olivia, she pushed a bill in my chest with an attitude. You need to pay for this. You're the last one here, and your friend ran out on the check. I took the bill from her and glanced at the total, $1,989. My eyes widened and my mouth dropped open. Are you kidding me? Olivia ran out on the bill? Did she do this to us on purpose? Was this her plan all along? I knew she was up to no good. I pulled out a credit card and handed it to the woman. Here, it had better go through this time, she huffed. When she was done running the card and handed over the receipt for me to sign, I was out of $2,500 as I made sure to tip well. Her demeanor changed after seeing her gratuity. She smiled and told me to have a good night. One more thing. Be sure to tell Olivia that she's not welcome back here, the server said as I walked away. I nodded. Hey, Tayson. Outside, the girls are waiting on the sidewalk. Where's the limo? If it's not here yet, Shannon said. I think it was already here. I looked up and down the street. Their heads snapped in my direction. What do you mean? Karen asked. Well, I'm pretty sure Olivia took it home. The server said she went out on the bill. Are you crapping me? I've had enough of her. Shannon pulled out her phone and started tapping buttons vigorously. I'm calling us an Uber. Karen was shivering and tiptoeing around trying to warm herself up. Keisha put her arm around her and pulled her in. I raised an eyebrow but didn't say a word. Wait, did you pay for the whole bill? Crystal crumpled up her face. I nodded. Oh, for Christ's sake, how much was it? Karen asked. 2,500, including tip. Don't worry, I'll reimburse you for it. Shannon fiddled with her phone. Me too, Karen and Crystal nodded. Yeah, I don't have a rich husband, ex, or otherwise, so Keisha said with a laugh. What a crap night. Shannon stamped her foot. You could say that again. Keisha laughed. Oh, Crystal laughed. Shannon and Crystal exchanged tight smiles. Let's remedy it. How about we go have a drink at the salon? I offered. They all looked at each other and then back at me and nodded. Chapter 59, Jenny. So when it goes back, it goes like the POV is between the ladies, but present day we have Jenny. She's talking to the detective. The name of the book is called One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. She's talking to the detective, so we know she's alive. We just don't know which housewife is dead. Present. Good morning from Ghana. Okay, hey y'all. Africa in the building. Detective Sanford picks up the empty pizza box and tosses it on top of a small trash can beside the door. He wipes his hands off a napkin and pitches it in the garbage can too. Retaking his seat, he flips through his notes. He glances at me. Did you know Olivia and Dean were having financial problems? I had a feeling they were. Why? Because on the evening we were going out, I ran the membership fees at the end of the workday, and Olivia's card on file was declined. I had meant to talk to her, and then the next time I saw her, when she ran up on the bill, I put two and two together. Did you tell the other women about Olivia's financial problems? I shake my head. No, it wasn't anyone's business. Detective Stanford nods and jots down a few notes. Were you aware Olivia had a fake profile impersonating a man on a dating site? I furrowed my brow and shake my head. So, you probably weren't aware that she was using the profile to talk to Shannon, or better yet, catfish Shannon, as the kids say? My mouth fell open. Are you serious? That's awful. He nods. We believe Shannon knew about it too. I cock my head. I don't know where he's going with this or why he's telling me about it. Did you know about Karen's relationship with Keisha? I nod. Did you know Shannon had Crystal privately investigated? I shake my head. Did you know Olivia was sleeping with Mark? I nod. His questions are rapid fire. Did you know Olivia knew about Karen and Keisha's relationship? I nod. Without thinking, I stand from my seat with force and my chair falls backwards. Banging on the floor, I slam the palms of my hands on the table. What do you want from me? I yelled. I want you to help me understand these women. I want you to help me understand Buckhead. Because right now, I've got a dead body, a F ton of questions, and not enough answers. What happened in the days leading up to the party? I take a deep breath, pick up my chair, sit back down. Start with the night you guys went back to the salon for a drink. What happened? Chapter 60. Jenny. Keisha helped gather up the dirty dishes Karen, Keisha, and Shannon had just left after coming to the salon for a few drinks. It was nice to unwind with them and vent about what all happened that evening. Shannon had urged me to cancel Olivia's membership, and she made a good case for it, but I told her I'd sleep on it and wait until I spoke with Olivia in order to give her the opportunity to explain herself. I was livid with Olivia. I wasn't sure if she had done it on purpose, but all signs pointed to yes. She had been trying to cause problems all evening. She left without telling any of us. She skipped out on the bill, and she took the limo. Thank you, Cammy. Keisha sat down, letting out a deep breath. We survived the evening with Olivia. Barely, I laughed, pouring two glasses of water. I handed one to her, and I'm so used to you not being here, but thank you for being here. I handed one to Keisha and took a seat next to her. We were silent while she slowly sipped her water. I have to tell you something. Keisha spun her chair towards me. What is it? She looked at me, then took a sip of her water and returned her gaze. It's about Karen. I took another drink. What about Karen? Something happened between her and me. What do you mean by something? I raised an eyebrow. I had a feeling something was going on with Keisha these past couple of weeks. That was a glow to her, and she was practically giddy, which was not the norm for Keisha. She blushed. Remember when I told you the spray tan machine malfunctioned? I nodded. It didn't. I dropped it during my makeout session with Karen, she confessed. I took another sip of my water and swallowed hard. And, and every tanning or waxing appointment Karen's had in the past 2 weeks, well, no waxing or tanning was done. I figured that much, I laughed. How? First, Karen is like a paper pail, for starters. Second, I've noticed how you two been interacting. I didn't know Karen was gay. I didn't either, and apparently neither did she. But I do have a way with women, Keisha said with a smirk. What's going on with you two then? She's married and she has a kid, I said in an attempt to bring Keisha back to reality. I didn't want her to get hurt, but I knew there was a good chance she would. Women in Buckhead didn't leave their husbands. I know, she says she wants to be with me, but I'm a realist. I know making that decision won't be easy, and I want to be with her too. It's different for her, Keisha explained. She didn't smile. She was serious, and she was serious about her feelings for Karen. How is it different with Karen? I crossed one leg over the other. With Karen, it feels like I'm falling, but not off a cliff or something like that. It feels like sensation right before you fall asleep. You feel warm and safe and sure that when you close your eyes, everything is going to be okay. That dreams will be dreamt and morning will come. I leaned over and patted her on the knee. Dang, Keisha, you really are in love. I've never heard you talk like that. I know, I'm a big sap, she laughed. You're not a sap. It's great. You're lucky to have that, to experience that. I smiled, but deep down there was a tinge of jealousy and a dash of frustration. Keisha was jeopardizing my business by fooling around with the client. Did she think about that at all? Did she think about how it would affect Glow if things went sour? Would I have to ensure Karen's appointments were only with me? Would Karen demand that Keisha be let go? Would other clients complain? These are things business owners think about. They treat their business like their child, putting it before anything and everything else. I know I wanted more than Glow, but this salon was my baby. And although I was happy for Keisha and Karen, I was irritated that they hadn't considered the consequences of their actions. Love and entrepreneurship didn't go hand in hand because they both require sacrifice. And we only have so much we can sacrifice before we have nothing left to let go. I cleared my mind and took another drink of water. Keisha was my friend, and her happiness mattered more than Glow. I reminded myself. I took a deep breath, exhaling all my thoughts racing through my mind. Actually, I'm not that lucky. See, the other day when Karen and I were Keisha called having a tennis session, Olivia walked in on us. My mouth dropped open. She knows about you too? She told Karen she wouldn't say anything to anyone. She said that she'd take it to her grave, but she was toying with us throughout the entire evening. She was messing with everyone. I rolled my eyes. Dang, Olivia. I'm not exactly sure where things are with Karen and me because Olivia interrupted us, and I feel like Karen is being apprehensive now, like she doesn't know what she wants. If Olivia gave Karen her word, I'm sure she'll keep it because she loves holding something over her head. I'm actually a little worried about what she'll want in return for keeping our little secret. Keisha let out a huff. I shrugged. What would she even get out of telling anyone? Drama. Her eyes widened. It's like crack to Olivia, she said with a laugh. I laughed too, for a moment, but then stopped placing my hand on Keisha's. Regardless of Olivia, you need to talk to Karen and figure out where you won't want things to go. Keisha nodded and squeezed my hand, exchanging a small smile with me. I know, but also keep a close eye on Olivia, I said with a laugh, but I was entirely serious. If you're just joining, we are reading One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. Thank you so much, King. Hey, Lito. Chapter 61, Karen. The sun was too bright. The birds were too loud. My own heartbeat was deafening. I could feel it in my neck, in my wrist, and the temples of my head. I glanced over at a clock on my nightstand. It was noon. Crap! I jumped up, noticing Mark's side of the bed was already made. He was the anal of a person that he literally made the bed while I was still in it. I covered my white nightgown with the robe and raced down the hall to Riley's room. His bed was made, his room was clean, and his backpack and coat were missing. I padded down the hallway to the kitchen and found a note on the countertop. Didn't want to wake you. Took Riley to school. There's coffee in the pot. Thank you so much for subscribing. Next to the note was a glass of water and 4 Tylenol. I tossed them in my mouth and washed them down. I walked to the sink, refilled the glass, and drank the entire thing again, nearly drowning my insides. Just as I was pouring a cup of coffee, the doorbell rang. I set the pot down and walked throughout the living room. The doorbell rang several more times. Hold on, I'm coming. On the other side of the door stood Olivia. She was dressed in all black, wearing oversized red-rimmed sunglasses, a scarlet Chanel bag, and a smug look. She looked like the Grim Reaper herself. We need to talk, she said, pushing her way past me. Her heels clicked along my hardwood floor as she made her way into my living room and took a seat crossing her legs at the knee. Come right on in, Olivia, I said, sarcastically closing the door behind her. Did you just wake up? You look haggard. She looked me up and down. Her forehead attempted to wrinkle, but the Botox hindered her ability to show her disappointment in my disheveled appearance. What happened to you last night? You left us with the bill and stranded. I threw my hands on my hips, ignoring her comment. I could look however I want to look in my own house. Yeah, sorry about that. That was an emergency with Dean. She waved her hand dismissively. I took a seat in the wingback chair across from her. Is he okay? I asked. I was trying to be empathetic, but I didn't even believe Olivia had feelings. However, it must have been quite an emergency for her to just take off like that, and I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe something had happened to Dean. Maybe she had a perfectly good reason for her behavior. She looked around the room for a moment, fiddled with her fingernails, and then refocused her attention on me. Yes, she hesitated. He got into some trouble with his work, but I don't want to get into the details. It's all pretty raw. Her face showed no emotion, but that's how Olivia said always looked. She could be taking her last breath, slowly succumbing to death, and she still looked like that. Plump pursed lips, cutting cheekbones, fixated eyes, and not a smile or laugh line to be found. I hope everything is okay. Do you want something to drink? Coffee? Water? I was trying to be kind and accommodating. No, she waved her hand again. I came here to talk to you about something. What is it? I leaned a little bit closer to her. I can no longer keep your dirty secret. It's weighing so heavy on my heart. She placed her hand over her chest. I leaned away from her. Oh, effing course. Effing course she would be here for that. What is it she wants? Because I know for a fact nothing weighs heavy on Olivia's heart. She doesn't have a dang heart. It hasn't even been 24 hours since you found out about Keisha and me, I said through gritted teeth. I know. It's killing me, though. How could you do this to Mark? She tried to make her face look sad, but instead her lips twisted and her eyes squinted. You have to give me time to figure this out. Olivia looked at her watch and then back at me. She was always one with a flair for dramatic. Hey, Sonic Edix. I just don't think that I can. It's immoral. Even though we're really close, it's wrong. Trust me, I'm Team Keisha and Karen. I would be the first to walk you lesbians down the aisle, but it's really eating me up inside. Since when the heck did Olivia have morals? She wanted something from me. That much was obvious. This had nothing to do with right or wrong. This had to do with Olivia getting her way. I wasn't sure what she was after, but I was going to find out. I let out a deep breath. Just tell me what you want to keep your mouth shut. I shook my head. Without missing a beat, Olivia responded, $50,000. What? Are you effing crazy? I nearly jumped out of my chair. Where did she get off coming into my house and demanding $50,000? I could unalive her. I'm not crazy, Karen jutted up her chin. I have something you want, and you have something I want. It's business. How can you expect me to come up with that type of money? I asked, trying to make her realize how literally insane this demand was. There was no way she was serious. Close the deal or ask your husband, or better yet, I will, she sneered. Why do you need the money? You have money. What do you have a need? Why do you need a girlfriend? You have a husband. She cocked her head. We always want more, don't we, Karen? Olivia stood from her seat and walked toward the front door. I expect full payment by Saturday night. If not, I guess I won't be taking your secret to my grave. She laughed and left the house, letting the wind slam the door right behind her. Whoa. I brought a throw pillow to my face. Dang it! I screamed. Chapter 62. Crystal. Go ahead and set the coffins up out back, I said to the man dressed in blue jeans and a flannel shirt. It was the day before our Halloween-themed housewarming party, and our home was filled with workers and decorations. It was an absolute madhouse. Bryce was at the office, leaving me to get everything prepared. The decor had to be finished today as the caterers, DJ, performers, pyrotechnicians, servers, and bartenders would be setting up tomorrow. Red curtains were being hung on every wall on the first floor. There were spider webs, skeletons, crystal chandeliers, smoke machines, and a light-up dance floor, along with a DJ booth outside by the pool area. They were dyeing the pool red, covering the backyard with red carpet. There were black thrones and chaise lounge for seating. This party was going to be elegant yet frightening, just like Buckhead. I had always wanted to get into event planning, and this party was proof that I could do it and do it well. I wanted it to be memorable. Is anything going upstairs? A man carrying a skeleton asked. No, keep everything down here aside from the crime scene tape blocking off both sides of stairs. But you can leave the tape on the counter. I'll put that up tomorrow right before the party. You got it. He nodded and proceeded to carry the skeleton to the dining room. Thank you. I made my way up the spiral staircase. It was the only area of the house that wasn't filled with people and party decor. I walked down the hallway towards our master bedroom and noticed Bryce's office was ajar. He never left it unlocked, let alone open. He had one of the workers gone in there. I pushed open the door gently, peeking my head in. It was silent and dark. The blinds were drawn. His desk was tidy, but there was a glow coming from the computer monitor. I had never been in the home office before. Bryce was adamant about his privacy and had said there was too much confidential stuff inside to leave it unlocked. He wouldn't even let the maid clean it. He had rushed out in a hurry earlier, so he must have forgotten to lock it. I ambled to the desk and placed my hand on the mouse. I was just going to put the monitor to sleep, but instead I hovered over the cursor of a folder titled Insurance Policy. I caught my eye. I knew that I shouldn't click it, but curiosity got the best of me. I double-clicked, and it opened a window filled with documents, videos, photos, and Excel spreadsheets. I started clicking through the spreadsheets. They didn't make much sense to me, as none of them had anything to do with our life insurance policy. They just looked like expensive reports. I began opening the documents. There were letters and memos to police departments and sheriff's departments. Some sentences stuck out more than others. Suspend patrol of Highway 14. Be on the lookout for a blue Chevy Cruze, person of interest. Suspend patrol of Highway 12. I moved on to the photos and began opening them. They were photos of trucks, pallets of unknown items. Dean was in a photo. Then my heart dropped. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I blinked several times. There was a photo of the inside of a semi-trailer filled with a dozen young girls. They were lying on the floor of it, dressed in rag clothes, with their feet and hands bound. My eyes widened. I sat up straight in the chair and clicked the video. There were trucks and shipping containers in the background. Dean came on the screen. He was carrying a woman. Her body was limp. Her skin was pale. Her eyes were open but in hurt. Crap, we lost another one, he said to someone not in the frame. He carried her off screen. How many didn't make it? A familiar voice asked. There was a loud thud. 6, Dean said as he walked back into the frame empty-handed. Dang, Dean, all these girls are pre-purchased. You're paying for this mess one way or another. The voice off screen said again. Dean hung his head. Do you understand me? The voice questioned. Dean looked up, staring just to the right of where the video recorder was set. Yes, good. I wouldn't want Olivia to end up in that pile too. He said with a laugh. It was Bryce's laugh. I know that anywhere. My stomach jumped into my throat. I bent down to the garbage can beside the desk just in time. I spilled my guts into the wastebasket. Tears streamed down my face as I retched harder and harder. When there was nothing left inside of me, I tried to regain control of my body. My breaths were quick and deep. My skin was damp from sweat and tears. My throat burned from remnants of bile. I wiped the tears from my face, patted away the sweat, and swallowed hard. What did I marry? A monster. A total monster. I quickly grabbed the video and sent it to my personal email. I closed everything out, put the monitor to sleep, grabbed the puke-filled bag inside the trash can, and slipped out of the office, locking the door behind me. I had to warn Olivia. All right, 9918. I'm doing good, Matrix. Hope you're doing good, too. Hey, you. If you're just joining, we're reading One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. Excuse me. Chapter 63, Olivia. I walked into the house through the garage, carrying a half a dozen shopping bags from Chanel, Gucci, and Barney's. How is she shopping and she ain't got no money? We didn't have the money for this little shopping trip, but I needed it, and I was sure we would have the money soon. I was taking care of things the only way I knew how, by any means necessary. Tossing the bags on the island counter, I walked to the oversized fridge, grabbing a bottle and opened Pinot Grigio. I poured myself a glass and took out an indulgent drink, tapping my scarlet nails against the glass. I pondered how I was going to pull everything together. Karen would deliver on the money. I'm sure of that. She had her business to consider and the son of hers. And the last thing she wanted to do is ruin her perfect image. I thought $50,000 might have been too much, but then I remembered how much her husband was paying me on a bi-weekly basis and knew they could afford it. Oh, hey, Brady. Welcome over. Taking another slow drink, I let out a laugh. I was bleeding her family dry through their own discretions. I just needed to figure out who Dean was working for, who was ruining us. Whoever it was, I wouldn't make it in my life's mission to ruin them. No one messes with my money and gets away with it. Jenny had called me twice today. I avoided her phone calls, but I'm sure it was to tell me my car was declined for this month's membership fee. I would call her later and explain it away with the expired card or something, and then I would pay her in cash at the party. Thank God I had been stashing the money Mark had been paying me. It would keep my lifestyle afloat until Saturday. What? The doorbell rang. A few moments later, I found Crystal standing on the other side of it. She looked like she had been crying. Thanks to blotchy face and red rimmed eyes, her skin needed a serious facial. A large tote bag hung on her arms, and she was dressed in yoga pants and a crew neck sweater. How could she let herself leave the house like that? How could Bryce let her leave the house like that? She did not deserve him. Can I come in? She cautiously looked over both of our shoulders. Come in. I opened the door wider and motioned her in. Crystal scurried in like a little stray cat. She followed me into the living room and took a seat on the couch across from me. Her eyes bounced all around like she was looking for something or someone. Do you want something to drink? I asked, taking a sip of wine. She shook her head. Is Dean here? I raised an eyebrow and crossed one leg over the other. She had piqued my interest. No. Okay, she glanced around the room again and hesitated for a moment. Listen, I don't have a lot of time. What's this about? My patience was worn thin. Crystal pulled out a MacBook from her tote bag and placed it on her lap. She held the sides of it tightly, glancing at it, and then looking back at me. Did you know? She squinted her eyes as if she was trying to read text that was too small, but really she was trying to read me. Know what? I uncrossed my legs, leaned in, and repositioned myself as if I was on the edge of my seat. She opened the laptop, clicked around with the trackpad, and then set it on the coffee table, turning it towards me. I'm sorry, this is going to be really hard for you, but you need to know. Crystal clicked play, and the video began. Crap, we lost another one, Dean said as he walked on screen carrying a dead woman. Next scene, when the video stopped, Crystal closed the laptop and put it back in her bag. My eyes were wide, my mouth was open. Was that Bryce's voice? I asked. I knew it was, but wanted to confirm. She nodded and hung her head in shame. I looked surprised, and I was, but only by the fact that it was Bryce that Dean was working for. I had always known that Dean's money wasn't clean, though I've been careful over the years not to ask too many questions. As long as the money kept coming in, it made sense to look the other way. Where did you get the video? Off of Bryce's computer. I found it today. Her lip quivered, her eyes moistened. I leaned back in my seat, crossed one leg over the other, and took a sip of wine. That slimy bee. I should have known. Of course it was Bryce. It was why Dean had pushed me to get along with the wives, to make nice with Crystal, to keep things peaceful. Bryce and Dean needed us to keep up appearances to look like upstanding citizens of the Buckhead community. They needed us to look the part, while they were off trafficking drugs, guns, and girls. What are you going to do with it? I asked. She glanced around the room, helpless like a small child that she just found out Santa wasn't real. I don't know. Go to the police? Crystal looked at me for approval, for solidarity, for help. You're going to turn your husband in? I raised an eyebrow. I have to. The man on the video is not the man I married. How could he do that to those poor girls? He's a monster. Her voice cracked at the end as she fought back tears. I swiveled my wine glass, allowing the liquid to coat the sides of it, and took another sip. Have you talked to him? Given him a chance to explain? I bounced my foot. He can't explain that away. Did you not watch the video? She pointed at the laptop that was now stowed in her bag. Her eyes were wide. We should really think about this. He threatened your life, Olivia. I came here to warn you. I'm a big girl, Crystal. I can take care of myself. Her mouth fell open. Was it really so shocking that I would choose to stand by my husband? He brought home the money. His work provided for us, and that's what mattered. I had even told him that I wanted to be active part of it. Honestly, I feel like I could do it better than him. Trafficking needed a woman's touch. We need to go to the police, she urged. I looked around the room, contemplated, and then back at her. You should send me the video, I said. Okay. She pulled out her laptop and typed away at it. There, sit. So you're going to go to the police then? Crystal stowed the computer back in her bag. I finished my wine and set the empty glass on the table. Standing from my seat, I crossed my arms over my chest and raised my chin. I think you need to leave. I don't appreciate you speaking ill of my husband. Olivia, how could you be okay with this? This is wrong, so wrong. She stood up from the couch. Her voice came out all whiny. It's business, and I wouldn't be so quick to turn your back on your husband. You saw what he did with those women. You wouldn't want to end up in that pile, too, I taunted. How can you do this? Crystal asked as she quickly gathered her bag. We're living the American dream. Breaking the law isn't living the dream, Olivia, she hissed. America was built on the backs of others. We're just carrying on the tradition. I chuckled as I walked her to the front door. Crystal turned towards me as she exited my home. Olivia, please. I can't help you, I said, closing the door in her face. I pulled my phone from my pocket and dialed. A woman answered. Hi, is Bryce in? I asked. Yes, Max is calling. Olivia Patrol. Tell Bryce I'll be stopping in. I ended the call and smiled a big toothy grin. Chapter 64. If you're just joining, we're reading One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. Crystal. After the door slammed in my face, I stood there for a moment, deciding what to do. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe Olivia would stand by her husband after what he'd done. There was something truly wrong with her. I wiped away my tears and took a step back. A voice from behind me startled me. She's refusing to pay you too? A voice called out. I turned around to find a man with a goatee and several neck tattoos. He was dressed in a white t-shirt and long shorts. He gave a crooked smile followed by a ha-ha. Afternoon, I said, meekly stepping around him. He gave a nod. There was something familiar about him. I kept my head down, and before I turned in the front of the garage, I looked back at him. He pounded on the door. My eyes traveled from the top of his head down until I saw a blotchy, inky tattoo on the back of his calf. I stopped myself from gasping. Olivia swung open the door just as I stepped out of sight. Her voice was just a whisper, so I could barely hear what she was saying. We agreed to 5, but that was before the other half-wit you hired went Mike Tyson on the salon owner. Now I've got heat on me. His voice was laced with anger. My hand went to my mouth. How could she have done this to Jenny? Shut up and come inside, she squawked. The front door closed with a bang, and I scurried to my car. I had to tell someone. If she was capable of this, what else was she capable of? Olivia needed to be stopped. Chapter 65, Shannon. The magazine was full of glossy photos of celebrities. I turned the page again and again, then tossed the magazine onto the coffee table. This week had gotten the best of me between Olivia and her catfish BS and Bryce and Crystal's impending housewarming party that I was sure I'd never hear the end of. It was all too much. I decided I wouldn't be attending. I wouldn't be caught dead in Bryce's home ever again. I needed a vacation. I needed to get away from Buckhead. This place was unaliving me. My doorbell rang. Good. My Chinese food was finally here, and I was starving. I got up from the couch, slid my feet into a pair of Gucci slippers, and cinched my robe tighter. I had stayed in my pajamas all day, having only the energy to put a robe on. Occasionally, I needed a day like that, a day of nothingness, where where I eat bad food and consume copious amounts of terrible entertainment, from smutty gossip magazines to awful reality shows. I got to the door and pulled it open, immediately disappointed upon seeing who was on the other side of it. Great. Perfect. Just what I needed. Crystal stood there, holding a large tote bag, a little country bumpkin, the last person I ever wanted to see. I had been civil, but civility ended at my front door. I began pushing the door closed, right in her face, but I noticed the tears pooling in her eyes, the quiver of her lip, and the lack of color in her skin. So I stopped. Hey, V. Can I come in? A tear escaped and ran down her cheek. I didn't hesitate for a moment. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her in for a hug. She fell apart, and I held her tighter, ushering her into the apartment and closing the door behind us. Like, she could have went to Jenny. She could have went to Karen. Like, of all the people you went to, why you go to... But that's crazy. The video stopped playing. She looked over at me as we sat on the couch, the laptop open in front of us on the coffee table. The Chinese food was sitting beside the computer unopened, and it would be remain so. I wouldn't be able to eat now. I swallowed hard. Did you know? She asked. I shook my head, unable to speak, still processing what I had just seen. We sat in silence, each of us unsure what to say. How could I have not known? I was married to him. I should have known. My voice trembled. I didn't know either, and I married him too. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it. This isn't our fault. I nodded. She was right, but I still felt wrong. I should have known. If I had been so wrapped up in all the BS of Buckhead, I would have realized that I was married to the worst kind of criminal. I would have saved those women. I could have stopped this. This isn't our fault, she repeated, squeezing my hand a little tighter. I placed my other hand on top of hers and looked at her and nodded. I closed my eyes tightly. Then I reopened them, realizing what I had done wrong. what I could have done to stop this. I shifted in my seat facing her. This is my fault, I said. Crystal held her hand up to try to stop me, but I needed her to know something, a secret of hers I had been keeping. No, you don't understand. When Bryce left me, I hired a private investigator. I was consumed with sadness and jealousy, and I wanted to know who the woman was that stole him away. I confessed. You had me followed by a private investigator? Crystal furrowed her brow, leaning away from me slightly. Yes, I nodded. And if I had investigated Bryce instead of you, I would have known what he was up to, and I could have stopped this. I hugged my head in shame. You know, don't you? Crystal's eyes widened. I raised my head back up. I know. I know your real name is Savannah Hall, and you changed it to Crystal Redden a few years back. Did you tell anyone? Crystal shifted uncomfortably. No, I couldn't. I wouldn't. Not even Bryce? Her eyes searched mine. No, after I saw the police records, I decided to keep it to myself. Even though I despise you, you have been through enough. I placed my hand on her shoulder for comfort. Crystal's eyes shifted left to right. I didn't mean to unalive him, she said, shaking her head. I know, honey, I know. I pulled her in for a hug and rubbed her back. It was self-defense. The gun just went off, she cried into my shoulder. I had known about Crystal's past for months. After reading all the police reports and statements provided by the private investigator, I decided to keep her secret, a secret she didn't even know I had. That girl had been through hell and back with an abusive ex-boyfriend. There was more after the case closed, after it was deemed self-defense. There was restraining orders against his friends and family. They harassed her, tried to retaliate against her, tried to make her pay for unaliving her abuser. The police reports was hard to read, but the one thing that I learned from her past was that Crystal was strong. She was a fighter, and I would never use another woman's strength against her. She pulled away from me, looking in my eyes. Thank you. I grabbed a Kleenex from the coffee table and handed it to her. Of course. Crystal wiped her eyes dry, looked at the laptop, and then back at me. What do we do now? We do what women do. We handle it. There's more, Crystal said, looking down at her hands and then back again. More. What is it? My eyes searched hers. How could there be more than it? It's about Jenny. My eyes went wide and my heart sank. The name of the book is called One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. Chapter 66, Olivia. I strolled into Bronson's office building and walked right past the secretary. She attempted to stop me, but she was no match for me. I flung open the door with force and found Bryce standing, facing his floor-to-ceiling wall windows. He was dressed in a custom suit, perfectly pulled together as usual. I'll take care of it. He ended the call and slid his phone into his pocket. He turned to me. Olivia, to what do I owe the pleasure? Bryce pulled out his chair and took a seat. I plopped my bag on the desk and sat across from him, folding my arms to my chest. We need to talk. Do we? He cocked his head and began shuffling papers on his desk, practically dismissing me. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I was not one to be trifled with. I was Olivia effing Petrov. I grabbed my cell phone and pulled up the video. Turning the screen towards him, I pushed play. His face tensed up. His shoulders slumped. A vein in his center of his forehead became very prominent. Pulled together Bryce wasn't so pulled together anymore. I smirked. After Bryce made the comment about my body ended up in the pile and laughed, I stopped the video and put the phone back in my purse. Where did you get that? His eyes darted all over as if he were looking for an answer to his little problem he had now. I'm sure he was thinking about what object in the room he could bludgeon me with, but I wasn't scared of Bryce. I had all the power, and power makes you fearless. It doesn't matter where I got it. It matters what I want to do with it. I raised an eyebrow. He took a deep breath and refocused his eyes on me, staring intently. And what are you going to do with it? He clenched his jaw. That's up to you. I pulled out a tube of lip gloss from my purse and applied it without a care in the world, slowly with precision. Bryce leaned back in his chair and swiveled it slightly, contemplating what to say next. He was finally taking me seriously. Women had drastic things to be taken seriously these days. What do you want, Olivia? I want in, I said, returning the tube of gloss to my purse. Interesting, I said, interesting. He brought his hands in front of him, placing the tips of his fingertips together. And I want money. Of course you do. Women are short-sighted, he chuckled. I stood from my seat and threw my bag over my shoulder. I was not about to be laughed at. I had all the power. I knew that. He just needed to be reminded of it. Just as I was turning for the door, he slid from his seat. Hold on, wait, Bryce said, putting his hands on his hips. I smiled and turned back towards him. How much? $500,000, I said without missing a beat. And you give me the video? He jutted up his chin. Not a chance. I hold on to the video's life insurance policy. But I like him. As long as you treat me like a fair partner, the video will never see the light of day. I said, putting a hand on my hip. We can work out the exact terms of our partnership later, but I want the money by tomorrow night. He pretended to be considering the offer, but I knew that he had no other choice, and I knew it too. And, if you go to the police, you and your husband will be done as well, he said confidently. Oh, silly boy, still thinking he had the upper hand. Without money, we're already doomed, I spat back. He walked to the side of the desk and stood in front of me. Less than a step between us. He was so close. I could feel his breath on me. I wasn't backing down. I looked him right in the eyes. I hope you know what you're doing, little girl. I took one small step towards him, closing the distance between us. I reached my hand out, grabbing his manhood with force, just hard enough to hurt in a pleasurable way. He jolted a tiny bit, but he didn't resist. He smiled and raised an eyebrow. The tightness in his eyes disappeared. I bit my lower lip. You have no idea what I can do. Chapter 67, Jenny. You ready for this? I asked as I straightened up the refreshment table in the middle of the salon. Keisha finished wiping down her station. Can we cancel? She said with a laugh. I wish. I looked around the salon to make sure everything was in place. We had a few contract SFX makeup artists and manicurists set up as Keisha and I wouldn't be able to handle it all by ourselves. We had already finished nearly all our full-time clients this morning, and we only had Olivia, Karen, Crystal, and surprisingly, Shanna, who made a last-minute appointment with us, left. I wasn't keen on seeing Olivia, but she had phoned early explaining her behavior the other night. She said Dean had an emergency and that she would reimburse us for the night out and clear up her membership fees. I had a feeling she was full of crap, and I was tired of her excuses. But Keisha and I were attending a party, so I figured I had better play nice, at least for tonight. You're right, Keisha. She gave me a look that said, Who, me? I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I won't argue with that. She laughed as she set out glasses for wine and cocktails. I mean, you were right about me hiring another person and taking time for myself. I'm going to do just that. After this party, I'm only working 40 hours a week, 50 tops. What made you decide that? Keisha raised an eyebrow. I shrugged my shoulders. Life's just too short. For all I know, I could die tonight, and I don't want my legacy to be upscale salon for catty middle-aged women. When I die, I hope I leave behind people that truly love and care for me. Keisha walked over to me. You have me, but I know what you mean. She smiled, pulling me in for a hug. I wouldn't hold you to that, she whispered. I wouldn't expect anything less. The front door chimed, and Olivia emerged from behind the curtains like a bat out of hell. Converting another one, I see, Olivia said, pulling a pair of oversized sunglasses down her nose and off her face. We ignored her quip. Keisha patted my back and told me she was proud of me. Olivia slid her glasses into her bag and took off her coat, tossing it at Mary without even looking. It landed right on Mary's face. Mary groaned, straightened herself, and returned to the front carrying Olivia's coat. Was that necessary? Keisha asked. Olivia ignored her. She probably hadn't even realized what she had done to Mary, but then again, knowing her, I'm sure she did. Let's get started. What are you dressing up as? I asked, trying to get this over with as quickly as possible. Not so fast. I'll have a drink first, and I'd like to settle my debt. Olivia put up a finger, then dropped her hand into her oversized bag, pulling out a wad of cash. She held it out to me. It's $6,000. You can count it if you like. Not necessary. I walked to her and took the money. Keisha begrudgingly handed her a glass of champagne. Olivia smiled and sipped her drink. Perfect. Everything is settled now. I'm going as a sexy skeleton. I like big voluptuous hair, sky-high eyelashes, and perfect skeleton makeup. I nodded. All right, have a seat. One of the SFX artists will take care of the makeup, and I'll do your hair after. Olivia plopped her skinny butt in the chair. Her head was held high as she clutched her drink, slowly bringing it to her lips. She was comfortable and at peace, almost like she knew everything was going to be just fine, like all the pieces in her life had fallen perfectly into place. She took another drink, emptying it, then tapped her long nails on the glass. Keisha rolled her eyes and refilled it, then filled a glass for herself and one for me. As she handed it over, she whispered, You're going to need this. I smiled at her and took a drink. Keisha leaned against her station and fiddled with her phone. Where are the rest of the ladies? Olivia glanced around. They should be here shortly. Shannon's coming too. She called me earlier. I raised an eyebrow. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard, Olivia said with an obnoxious laugh. But it should make for some good entertainment. Yeah, you sure like to be entertained, I said just above a whisper, as I pulled out several sets of curlers and can of hairspray. What are you two going as? Olivia took a sip of her drink. Just as I was about to answer, she interrupted. The help? She let out a loud cackle. Keisha shook her head, biting back her anger. I'm just teasing, of course, she said through her deep, throaty laugh. We're going to Sharon Dion from Clueless. My voice was patient and calm as it could be. Olivia opened her mouth, ready for another rude remark, but closed her bloated lips just as the front door chimed. Chapter 68. Karen. Going back, Mary said as I entered the salon. Thanks so much, Mary. She smiled as I disappeared through the curtains. I found Olivia sitting in a chair, sipping a glass of champagne. Jenny was rearranging her station, even though everything was already in place. Keisha stood from her chair and her face lit up when she noticed I was standing there. We exchanged pleasant smiles. I was wearing long loungewear. I would get dressed for the party back at the house with Mark. Nice to see you, Karen, Olivia said coyly. I grabbed a small red Saint Laurent purse from inside my larger bag. I walked to Olivia and tossed it in her lap. Here, you forgot your purse in my house. The purse was actually mine, but it was filled with money I owed her. That was sweet of you to bring this to me. Oh, wow. That was sweet of you to bring this to me. I so appreciate it. I was looking for this purse. It goes perfect with my outfit, she lied. I rolled my eyes and took a seat at Keisha's station. Keisha handed me a glass of red wine. Our fingers touched for a moment and it caused my lip to curve upward. She returned the smile and patted my shoulder. What are you dressing up as? Keisha asked. A sexy skeleton. No way, that's what I'm going as, Karen. There can be two of us, Olivia pouted. I looked at her in the mirror. Well, I already bought my costume, so feel free to change, I smirked. Olivia took another drink and let out a huff. You knew I was going as that. I told you the other day. I must have forgotten. She raised her chin at me. It's fine. I'm sure I'll look better. You're right. I'm sure you look so much better as a skeleton. I twisted my lips and rolled my eyes. What do you want to do with your hair? Keisha asked. Nothing. I'm wearing a wig. For the makeup, whatever Olivia's done, I'll have, but better. I laughed. I didn't care anymore. I had had it with Olivia. I was no longer playing nice with her. She was dead to me. The front door chimed. Hey y'all, Crystal said as she entered the salon. Her voice was more twangy than usual. Jenny walked to her and gave her a hug. Hello, Crystal. Is Bryce ready for tonight? Olivia asked. I'm sure he is. Crystal followed Jenny, and took a seat at her station. Jenny wrapped the cape around her and then poured a glass of champagne. Crystal's eyes lit up. It looks amazing. Everything came together perfectly, she gushed. And everything's all set for tonight? I asked. It is, Crystal said with a nod. The makeup artist was outlining Olivia's lips with skeleton teeth. So fortunately for the rest of us, she couldn't talk. I couldn't wait to see it. Jenny combed through Crystal's long blonde locks. You're going as a cowgirl, right? I confirmed, glancing over at Crystal while keeping an eye on Keisha. I could never take my eyes off her. Crystal shook her head. Nope, changed my mind. I'm going as Sandy from Greece. She smiled at herself in the mirror. That's perfect, Jenny said. Hey girl. I'll put in really tight curls. And I'll do a smoky-eyed, dark red lips when Jenny's done with your hair, Keisha said. Olivia tried to mumble something, but the makeup artist told her to stop moving. That was probably the toughest thing Olivia ever had to do, keep her mouth shut. What about you? Crystal took a drink from her glass and looked at Jenny in the mirror. Keisha and I is going to Sharon Dion from Clueless. Oh, that's amazing. I love it. And you, Karen? Crystal glanced over at me, a sexy skeleton. What about you, Olivia? Crystal asked, looking in the mirror at Olivia, who was still getting makeup applied to her lips. She tried to answer, but it came out all mumbled. She's going as a sexy skeleton, too, I answered for her. She copied me. Olivia groaned. You could always change your costume. Olivia raised her eyebrow. Olivia rolled her eyes and moaned again. Yeah, there's still time to uncopy me,